Hi, everyone, and welcome to another edition of the Holistic Health Hub. And I'm here to introduce my wonderful friends. I'm going to introduce them first, and then I'll come on afterwards, just so we can spice it up a bit. So first we have Harry.
Hi, I'm the learning difficulty expert from Canberra, down under.
Who's next?
Oh yeah, I'll
Shauna.
go. Hi. Oh yeah, sorry. It's Sally, holistically fit specialist, and I'm in Melbourne. And over to you, Shauna.
Hi there, I'm Shauna Daru, and I'm a naturopathic doctor focusing on women's health and hormones in Toronto.
Awesome. And I am Maggie. I'm a holistic nutritionist, mentor, and I specialize in sleep and hormones. And I live in a sleepy little village just outside of London. So today, our topic is going to be about stress and stress relief. And I'm sure there's going to be a lot of laughs along the way, as there have been while we've been prepping for this panel. So as always, whoever wants to step in first, go right ahead.
Well, I think stress, everybody, it's probably the number one. Is it the number one killer in the world? I don't know. It's up there. It's everybody has stress in their life, and particularly in this day and age, I think it's something that we have to learn how to cope with, because it affects everybody from youngsters right up. You know, no one's immune to stress, and it really does affect us, our gut, our everything. So, you know, digestion, that gets very affected by stress. Everybody has it. And how do we manage it?
Yeah, and how do we manage it outside of the normal, you know, because we say it all the time, maybe it becomes white noise, you know, meditation and yoga and exercise. I think sometimes self-care, they're all great words, but I think sometimes, or maybe at some point, it's going to get white noise. People go, yeah, what else you got?
Yeah,
so I'm interested in what else there is.
I think the first thing is to become aware that you are stressed. I see children mostly, but one of the ways that I check if they're under stress is I put them on the floor. And it's actually a check of balance function, but it allows me to feel their core. And I move their body forwards and back and left and right. And some of them are locked up like steel pylons.
Wow.
They are so stressed. And that's an indication of chronic stress when a child is like that. So I'll say to them, Mum, what do you think? Have you noticed this? They'll often say no, so I get them down on the ground. They feel their own child. They say, oh, holy shit. And I say, this is stress. And, you know, mums are often the same, and the whole family's the same. It's like what Sally said, it's the new normal. So the first thing is to become aware of it before you can do anything. Most of the people I see are not aware of it. Yeah. What do you think, Shauna?
Yeah, I would say the same thing, that, you know, I talk with people a lot who have a lot of physical things going on and aren't aware that their stress might be part of it. And, you know, we just live in a culture, a lifestyle where we're always going, we're always on, we're always doing, and that's really appreciated in this world. And taking a break and having a day off and taking an evening off is not something that we do. So sometimes it's actually a really simple strategy of actually just taking breaks. So I usually talk about how your nervous system cycles, the sympathetic and the parasympathetic nervous system. And they're meant to run on a rhythm where you're going and doing for 2 to 3 hours with your sympathetic nervous system on, and then it's supposed to flip over to relaxing and digesting with the parasympathetic nervous system for 20 to 30 minutes. And if we keep ignoring that rhythm all through the day, you end up with your stress hormones just climbing by the end of it, which then, you know, creates that chronic state of stress. So sometimes one strategy is actually just like, you know, setting a timer and taking a small break.
Yeah, that one, are you talking about the Pomodoro effect, the Pomodoro technique?
No, but you could explain that one.
It's basically, so a Pomodoro, I believe it's an Italian tomato. And it was really just the student who developed it. It was a timer that he had, and he would set it to 20 minutes. And he would do a certain task. And if it took him 20 minutes to do, then he would take a break and move on to the next one. But if it was to take him more than that and he needed another 20 minutes, then he would take sort of a 2-minute break, set the timer again for 20 minutes, and then see where he was. And then if he needed to do more, he would take a longer break. So you sort of breaking your day up into 20-minute segments with breaks in between. And then I think you go up to a maximum of 4, and then you move on to the next task. So it doesn't become so mundane, and B, so overwhelming that you can't do it within those, 80 minutes. I thought that was really interesting when I read that. Yeah.
I was going to say posture. You see it in people's posture, the stress. And so many people come in to me and then just not even aware of the level of stress that they're dealing with and managing every day. It's just become the norm to be stressed, and the shoulders over, and, shoulders are like concrete, the back, everything. And people are operating and thinking that's normal. And, Harry, that whole awareness thing, I think that's really important, that we have to train ourselves to be aware of the level of stress that we're operating under and how we're functioning every day. And it really concerns me with kids, because there's so much pressure on kids at such a young age. And as you say, they're suffering from stress at that young age. It's horrific, actually.
And we mirror that as the parents, right? We're stressed. They see that and they think that that's the way that you're supposed to be.
Yeah.
Which is quite scary in a way. You're like, oh my gosh, I really do that.
Yeah. Well, I find myself, I have to stop myself and then think, whew, and blow it off, shake it off or whatever, because you just, all of a sudden it's crunching up and you can feel it, and heart rate's elevated.
Like this now.
Yeah, we're going to get it up. Open up your heart chakra. Yeah. Come on, Harry, measure up, baby. What can we do to help kids be aware of stress? I think it does have to come from the parents first. We have to be the role models for the kids.
It does. Yeah, the parents set the environment, set the framework. So if I go back to the time when I had my executive breakdown, there were a number of things that really helped me. One was to have somebody to talk to share it is massively important. If you're isolated and it stays inside, you're going to get sick very much quicker. Second thing was to take exercise. And the third thing was to really honestly identify what my stresses were. And to either work out a strategy to improve my capacity to cope with them or engineer them out. And in the medium term, we can engineer anything out, not in the short term. So there were the kind of things that I did. And I think they're the things any parent can do.
Yeah. Shauna, do you notice that, and I notice this in my clinic, but the women come in and they don't actually realize that their hormones are imbalanced, and it likely was caused by a traumatic, stressful event. And it sort of takes them a while to go, oh, right, that's what happened a couple of years ago. And then you get the story. Do you find that?
Sometimes, yeah. I mean, sometimes the effects of like a burnout will happen months after the burnout finishes, right? So you're on this, this adrenaline rush to get through the event that's super stressful. And then when you let go, when life is back to normal again, that's usually when all the physical things start to show up. So, the fatigue and the hair loss and the digestive issues and the period goes off and the weight goes on and all of these things, and they don't understand why. Yeah. Right?
As soon as I finished school, well, actually, no, while I was going through school, that's what I was feeling. But when I finished school, we went on vacation, sorry to veer a little bit, but we went on vacation. I think it was like 2 weeks after I'd written my exam, I think. And it took me 6 days to start to relax. 6 days. I was like this for like 6 days, and then it took me that long to relax. But I'd been stressed for a year, and that's when my perimenopausal journey began, when I was in school. And I didn't realize how much it had impacted me until I finished school, and then I was like, oh my gosh, what just happened? It was very traumatic. Wonderful, but very traumatic too. It's sort of what you're saying is that, you're fairly happy going along doing what you're doing, but then as soon as you stop doing that, everything just goes boom. And then you're like, oh my gosh, what just happened?
Yep. was interesting. I was interviewing someone a couple of weeks ago, and we were talking about Alzheimer's, dementia, all that sort of stuff. And one of the top three stresses was, or causes, was stress that was bringing it on. You know, that it starts in the 20s, and then you don't start to see the signs until the 40s. But stress was one of the top three things that was a contributing factor to Alzheimer's, dementia, and all these other mental things. It's just like it really does affect us. And you know,
so what can we do to alleviate stresses?
Well, I'm like,
what new things can we do? We all know, like I said before, about the self-care, meditation, yoga. What else can we do to alleviate?
Well, I think it's important, like Harry said, to be aware of it. So every day to sort of check in, you know, and connect into where you're sitting and listening to your body and feeling your body. And, you know, even looking in the mirror and going, oh my God, my shoulders are right up here. Like, you forget about it. You know?
Every time you say that, I'm like,
yeah, roll them back, roll them back. Look, I'm going to put it out there, but I think just relaxing and taking some time out, but like sex, I think that's just a real...
I knew she was going to go there.
I know.
Yeah, it was going to happen.
I was waiting to come out, but I think it's awesome. Like,
it is true, though. Yeah.
And I mean, that falls in the category of doing something that makes you happy.
Correct, yeah. Bringing joy into your life.
It can be anything. It could be doing the veggies. It could be listening to a bird outside. It could be enjoying the beautiful fresh snowfall, whatever it is.
No, the fresh snowfall thing is not enjoyable anymore. That's done.
But having a laugh. Having a laugh.
Mum with a snowball. I haven't seen a snowball fight on... Yeah.
No, I was going to do that today, wasn't I? And I totally forgot. So I'll do that.
But, you know, nothing beats a good old abache with a couple of mates. You know, just really having a good... I call it an abache because you're just aching in the tummy. It's just so, you know, just little things, just really laughing. It's so good. It's so healthy for you. It's such a good stress relief.
And even if you can't do it with other people, as you said last week, find Netflix and watch something that's funny and just laugh.
Yeah, absolutely. Like when we get together, we always have a good old laugh, and I always feel $1 million after that. And I tell you what, my shoulders are down by the time we finish.
Yeah. Shauna, what do you have for us?
Well, two things. So one of them is connecting like we are right now. And I think that's a huge cause of stress for so many people, is feeling isolated and alone in their struggles and their stresses and what they do in the world. So I think connection is really huge. And I think we've talked about this before, how it just feels like we're sort of flipping again. So everything's been online and very isolating for the past 5 to 10 years. And now it seems like there's a big sort of turnover of people wanting to actually meet up in person again, which is really exciting. Yeah. We're not in person here, but it's still pretty good. And the other thing that for me has been, you know, enormous for stress is just making sure that parts of my life are in the right alignment. And I find that that for me, that's been the top thing that's helped, you know, to sort of move burnout out of the way, is to get excited about something and to be moving in a direction that I'm, you know, passionate about in my own life. Because I don't actually think that stress has to do only with working hard. I think you can actually work very hard and not be stressed. So it's not necessarily the hours of work, it's how you're feeling about it, whether you're taking care of yourself in the midst of it, and whether you're actually enjoying it. So,
you know, it's funny, you must have read my mind, because I was sitting here thinking, and I heard it somewhere, have one thing to look forward to either in your day or in your week. And you said exactly that. Something to look forward to, something that you enjoy. And for the past, I must have only had it last week. I don't know why, but it just struck a chord with me. And this last week, that's exactly what I've been doing. So my thing, it might not be the best thing, but my thing to be looking forward to this week is drinking Americanos. Not the healthiest thing I know, but you know what? It's snowing outside. I can't drive anywhere. I can't drive to a coffee shop and work or meet other people. I'm stuck in the house. So that's my one thing that I look forward to, that, you know, speaking to a couple of people that we know, I said that I would associate that with doing this one thing, which was something online. So I would go grab my Americano, sit down, and I would watch whatever I needed to watch online, and I would commit to that. And I'm actually really enjoying it. I know it sounds silly, and it will pass. I'm sure it will. But to me, it's like, ooh, I get to drink my Americano tomorrow. Small things, right? Small things please me. It really is. It's the little things. Just do little things, and I'm happy. Don't need the big things.
And if you want to take it to the next level, you just switch to a flat white.
But I'm trying to have less milk.
Yeah. Goodness. But going for a walk, I really love that. It's really, really, really good. It's so like you can make calls or whatever, or just chill out or connect. But oh my God, I feel $1,000,000 taking the time every day, and I've got it penciled in and go, I really look forward to it because I feel so much better afterwards.
And most of your walks are on the beach, so they look amazing.
Or along the water, because water's very cleansing. It's awesome. I mean, we are blessed with this weather, so I'm making the most of it. But even, I love it in the cold winter. If you've got a warm jacket on, there's nothing better than the crisp air against your face. It's really good and clears the mind. It's awesome. But I think another thing is diet really helps. If you eat shit food, you feel shit. Mm-hmm. And, if you eat well, you feel a lot better, and you don't feel guilty as well. I don't know if you have fish and chips or something, and then it sits in your guts, and then you're thinking, why did I eat that? It was just like, ugh, and you feel yucky. But if you're eating well, I find that also doesn't make me so stressed if I'm eating well. I think, well, I can tick that box, and I feel better for it. And,
Or... I always like to play devil's advocate, as you know. But if you go to a coffee shop by yourself or with a friend, and you see something like a pastry or something that looks decadent, and you want it, have it, enjoy it, and don't have that guilt afterwards. That's the thing that causes you the stress. It's not the actual enjoyment of eating it. It's like, oh, I shouldn't be eating this, or I shouldn't have eaten that, and oh, I'm going to regret it. Well, of course you are, because you just said that you were. But just look, that looks really good. I really want to try that, and just enjoy it, as long as it's not all the time.
Yeah, if you own it, make your choice and then own it and go,
absolutely.
Get it. Like I say to my clients, if a glass of red in the bath, reading a novel or whatever, Netflix, whatever it is, Epsom salts, just hanging out, and that gets you in a relaxed state, do it.
Yeah,
absolutely, just do it, and don't feel guilty about it. Just go, yep, that's your choice, own it, and go, yep, and relax, Max.
I think owning it, that's the big thing, isn't it? It's committing to it and then letting it go.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Right, you, Harry, what is your simple pleasure that makes you happy and stress goes away?
Well, just to get outside of the buildings into nature does it for me. They're the most wonderful birds. I love. We have a bird here called a magpie, and it just makes the most beautiful song. And to hear that just lifts my heart. I do a circuit around the garden most mornings. And
around your own garden?
Yeah. And at lunchtime, after I've eaten, I go for a little walk. Usually.
Nice.
It's awesome. It's just the simple stuff. You don't have to pay the money for it.
No,
exactly. Yeah.
And what about you, Shauna? What's your simple pleasure that brings you joy?
It's hanging out with my kids.
No.
Yeah, it's it's having an evening off and hanging out on the couch, maybe watching a movie, maybe not. I just, my little guy still likes to cuddle, and that's heaven for me.
Oh,
that's it.
I know I've heard they grow up so fast. Mine are only young yet, but you have two different ages. Mm-hmm. Sally, yours are quite different ages as well, right?
11 to 16.
Within 4 years, okay.
Yeah.
So are they past the cuddle stage?
Yeah, the last one's I'm just hanging in there. Just and, I give him an option, kiss or cuddle, what would you like today? So, we're narrowing it down, but nothing beats kids' arms around your shoulders and a bit of a squeeze and a bit of a peck on the cheek. It's the best. It's the best.
I actually insist on it. I insist on it with all my kids, all my nephews, all my nieces. And they get the most wonderful cuddles. It's very important.
How big is your family?
There isn't an age where cuddles stop. Actually, it goes on forever. Yeah.
Harry, do you have a big family? It sounds like you do.
Yeah. My wife's got an enormous family, and we've got a pretty big family. So I've got 4 grandsons, 3 kids,
Wow.
3 siblings.
Wow, that's
My
awesome.
wife's got 5 siblings.
Whoa, that's a lot of cuddles.
That
It's
is.
a lot of cuddles.
That'll be a
Cuddles are
big
really
group hug.
That's right. So no, they never grow out of it if you don't let them.
Yeah.
True.
Ever.
Yeah.
True.
Yeah. We'll get through the embarrassing part.
So,
Being-
Sally,
Yeah.
Yes, Don.
what about stress relief in your 50s? Because you're almost there.
Almost there. Yes. Well.
Without being too blue.
No, I just honestly think that awareness is absolutely key. Checking in throughout the day, I think, really, because our days are so jam packed that all of a sudden it's lunchtime and you're chasing your tail. And I think time out, I'm going to start practicing that actually, rather than just in the morning. I'm going to do time out throughout the day and do a check-in point and
Give
just go,
yourself a time
what am I
out.
worried about?
I gave myself a timeout today.
Yeah. You can get little apps that come up on your screen and tell you to stand up and do stuff. But, I'm racing and all of a sudden it's pickup time. It's like, whoa, where's the day gone? And I haven't done anything on the to-do list. And by the time I get to pick up, I'm frantic. So I'm going to check out and check in, actually, often during the day. That's what I'm going to do. Now I'm turning 50. Be responsible.
Do you have timeouts in Australia? Does it mean the same thing? Like when you go send your child into timeout?
Oh,
Yeah.
that's usually when they're naughty and go into the naughty step.
So we didn't have that in England. That was a completely new phrase for me. I'm like,
Oh,
what?
really?
Yeah.
Oh,
Or I never went in it.
yeah.
Could have been that I was the perfect child and never went to timeout. Which I doubt.
You didn't go in the naughty corner?
No, I don't remember that.
Oh, yes.
No.
It's weird how kids actually adhere to that. It is so weird.
Yeah.
And you say sit on the naughty step and they do it. They don't do anything else. They sit on the naughty step. Whoa, that works.
Ooh, control. Ooh.
Yeah.
Wow.
One of the things I've been working on this month, I guess, partly as a result of coping with Kate's passing, was to really dive in when I felt an emotion, like a stress like that. Dive in and just go with the flow.
Yep.
Not run away from it until it passed, and then it always moved into something better. So that's another thing I've found useful in terms of managing the stress I've had this month.
That's beautiful. Just being with it, right?
Being with it, yeah. Andy was talking about it. That's where I got the idea from.
You go down and you're just quiet and you're with it.
Yeah. Experience it.
Which is very uncomfortable for, I would say, most people. We don't like
it's
to
uncomfortable.
feel
Yeah.
things. Give me something that's going to make it
first.
stop.
Yeah.
And as part of that also, Harry, I know I've let shit go. I've not let things worry me that used to worry me because I've put it into perspective. So what am I really stressing about? Is it worth it? No. Is it doing me any good? No. So let it go. Is it, life and death? No. On the catastrophe scale, where does it sit? It's right at the bottom. So just shaking it off. And once again, it's practice. But the more I've been doing it over the last couple of weeks, the easier it's become. It's like, yeah, chill, relax, Max. It's just not that important. Is it affecting kids? No. Is it affecting me? No. As in like life and death? No. It's just not worth it. Because we do tend to put too much pressure on ourselves. There's a lot of pressure to be the perfect mum, to, be the perfect parent, whatever, tick all the boxes. Did you ever see that movie where they were making the cupcakes, Bad Mums? Oh my God, that's so funny. Where they're trying to create.
That was quite tame. Have you guys seen that? I thought it was way too tame. It could have been much worse.
It is funny, but the PTA, the pressure to. I actually had that situation of making cupcakes, and I slaved up all night, and I made it all from scratch. And I took the most dishevelled-looking, disgusting little cupcakes, but they were made by hand. And I've rocked in, and these mums have got these glamour pieces that should be given awards with all the bits and pieces coming out of the top and look like world class, as it should be entered in the Royal Melbourne Show. And I've rocked up with these hideous looking cupcakes. And the mum grabbed it from me and just given me the cat's bum look. And then, you know, at the end of the day, they were still there. And I thought, I'm never going to bake from the heart again. I'm going to shop and buy it. I just like, measure up. I thought, holy shit. And so, you know, that sort of stress, it's not worth it, because there is a lot of stress from parents at school to measure up, even just in what you wear for pickup. Like, let that go. It doesn't matter.
Wow. Yeah, no, that doesn't happen here. What about you, Shauna? Do you have pickup? I mean, because you're in the city, right?
Yeah, my teenager just takes the subway home, so no pickup. And my little guy, we meet him halfway. He walks halfway, pick him up at the corner.
No.
So not the same thing anymore. I actually don't really interact with the parents at all. It's kind of weird.
Yeah,
New
I don't
phase.
either, because my boys take the bus to school,
Yeah.
so we don't do the standing around chatting in circles and stuff.
Yeah.
So Shauna, what about you? Well, we're not. I don't know if we're at that level. Well, no, maybe. So, how do you think it's changed, like your stress and how you manage or don't manage it in your 40s? Like from when you were in your 30s, obviously.
I don't know. That's a tough question. The stresses have changed. So I don't know how to answer that clearly, because the stresses are bigger than they were in my 30s, and they're different. So they're, you know, more heavy responsibilities. So I would say for the most part, I handle them pretty well, but it's a pretty heavy load. So, you know, it takes a lot of work on self-care practices to cope through the day. Doing a lot of meditation these days, which is a good thing. Because for me, that really does make a huge difference. And, you know, I know that's one of the boring topics, but it's one of those things that we talk a lot about, but
absolutely
it does work.
I hope that, you know, I hope that it never becomes one of those white noise words. But there's so many different ways to do it that I think some people go, yeah, when they haven't actually found the one that works for them. So they think that it's all the same. So I just hope it doesn't become a white noise word. That I have a feeling that self-care will become just one of those phrases that we put out there, but nobody really knows what it's about, so they just don't really hear it.
But I'm seeing a move into more self-compassion, which I think is actually a really word direction too. So that's the word that I keep popping up. It's like we've moved from self-care to self-compassion, which has like this real depth and beauty to it in terms of, you know, just being okay with where we're at and, you know, and accepting, you know, our flaws and our faults and our, you know, our idiosyncrasies, because we're all that way.
I love that.
But
I'm going to use that if you don't mind.
Yeah.
I love that. And I think it works really well with kids as well, doesn't it, Harry? The self-compassion bit, because they don't really know what self-care is, and why would they? But if we talk about self-compassion, they know what compassion is.
They often know intuitively what suits them. And so often they'll do the right thing if they don't think about it.
Right.
But you've gone around the 30s and the 40s, the 50s. Well, I'm in my 60s.
We know that you've got it all together.
And what's different about how I handle stuff now to when I did in my 20s is that I heard this phrase which was liberating for me, and I never forget it. Someone told me, all you have to do is think and act at the same time. And what that did for me was to liberate me from worrying about the stuff that I couldn't actually sort out in that moment.
So
that was incredibly.
you're acting on it right then and there. You're not giving yourself time to mull it over and think about it.
But if you can't act on it in that moment, don't worry about it.
Just let it go.
If you have a meeting tomorrow, maybe it'll be shit, maybe it won't. Don't actually need to worry about it the day before. Because there's nothing you can do about it.
What is it they say? Worry is the thief of joy? Is that the phrase?
Absolutely. Probably.
Something like that.
I like that one.
Yeah.
What I was going to say before is I don't know if it's the same in Canada as it is in Australia, but depression in men in their late 40s and suicide, it's the number one killer after normal heart attacks or whatever, whatever the word is. But, you know, the male community, I really worry for their levels of stress that they're hanging on to, and particularly the old school thought of the male, the provider, and the husband, and the father, and the, you know, all the pressures that they put on themselves or have on them, and with no outlet, and just sort of burying their head in the sand. And I really think, I know it's a huge issue in Australia, and it's probably the same in Canada. I mean, 48, I think, is the average age for male suicide, and it's the highest killer after sort of, you know, physical ailments. So, yeah, it's huge. And we really don't, we've got helplines and that sort of thing, but there's not, you know, meditation and all the self-care that we've been talking about. I really don't think, I know the guys that are in that sort of category, and that's not sort of top of their list. And it's just like, well, you know, I don't do that girly stuff. Like, you know, it's still boo-hooed. And I think it's a really big issue that somehow we can take the meditation and the stuff that's become commonplace for a lot of women in particular, and bring it in for men to be practicing, because there's still a lot of old school guys out there with their narrow-minded ways of thinking, and, you know, you don't look after yourself, never get sick, never go to the doctor, all that sort of stuff until it's too late. And then it's just snowballed and snowballed and snowballed, and they crack because the cracks get bigger and bigger, and then it just, you know, avalanches. Whew, scary.
There's still a whole lot of toxic workplaces too, which, you know, these wonderful corporate mission statements which bear no resemblance to the stress they put on their staff. Yeah. But there was a study that came out this month linking teenage depression with mental state of the father.
Really?
Really?
Yeah. Very strong connection. So it's a big deal.
Wow.
Very big deal.
Whoa.
Yeah, I don't know what it's like for the majority of people, but I find that men sort of in their late 40s, early 50s really don't have the friends anymore that they talk to. Like, they don't seem to have those groups anymore that if they used to have them, they don't have them. Or in that age group, they've sort of distanced themselves because they've been married, or they're married and they have a job and they have their family, and they sort of wrap themselves up in that and forget about other relationships. Whereas I think women, we strive to have those other relationships. Like, it's almost a complete flip. Like, we're drawn to, especially at our age, we're drawn to other women that we can talk about or talk to and talk things through. But I don't think men have that. Either they didn't have it or they don't have it as much anymore. And certainly men are, you know, in their 50s, 40s, 50s, 60s, are they really going to start new friendships? I think it's a lot more difficult for them than women.
Well, communication is always been an issue for men. They're just it's not inherent like it is in us chicks. Like, I mean, we're the first ones to chat and bring it up and out. And I don't know many men that, you know, openly chat other than the snags, the sensitive new age guys, and, you know, the gay guys, because they're sort of slightly more evolved in that way. You know, and I think it's becoming more and more of an issue for the guys. Imagine living in that little shell of not chatting and not talking about how you actually feel and letting your feelings out. Thank God you're one of us, Harry. Thank God.
That's a relief for me too. I think you're right. I think if the men don't continue with the particularly in Australia, the sports that gave them the linkages to other men, those friendships drop off.
Yeah, and it's so much more difficult trying to start a conversation. You know, you don't see guys starting conversations anymore. You know, they're always like, they'd rather talk to their wife or not talk to anybody, because they're just, I don't know why, uncomfortable or whatever.
Well, unless it's about things, about cars or about
hockey,
sport or or whatever, but not the touchy-feely stuff. And Harry, I think you're spot on about the workplace. You know, the toxic environments in the workplace. You know, somehow HR should be building more in about, you know, tell us how you really feel and all that sort of stuff. You know, like, but do it in a because it's going to increase productivity and only be of benefit to the companies to bring in more self-care in place for guys in particular. It's a win-win, really. Everybody's happier. and might even want to go into work.
Look, I think the workplace is getting more difficult. I think a whole lot of jobs are being outsourced, so people are working by themselves. God, who'd want to work in a call center? You know, you've got your ratios all sitting there. You know, you're going to reach 2 calls a minute or whatever it is. But there was an example the other day where somebody put in a complaint to their manager about behaviour. That was then shared across the whole same level of the organisation.
Wow.
So, you know, I don't know what HR does with behaviour like that. It was actually in the police, because they were talking about the levels of poor behaviour in the police, the culture in New South Wales Police. I was saying it's intractable, you know, really difficult, really stressful. I've had clients who are policemen and they're stressed out of their brain. I had one client who came from down the coast. I remember one weekend he came back on, he used to come Friday, Mondays. And on Monday I asked him, what do you do on the weekend? He said, I put up a security system around my house, something like 15 cameras.
Wow.
I mean, goodness, what was all that about?
Wow. Okay, well, we should probably wrap this up, though. We've been going on for quite a while. I wanted to sort of do a round table and see if there's anything last minute, sort of a last words of wisdom from each of you. So, Harry, why don't we go with you first?
Be kind to yourself. Love yourself.
Nice. Shauna?
I'm going to go back to the first one. Take breaks. So, you know, make sure you've got an evening off every week. You've got some downtime on the weekends. Don't overschedule and book vacations.
Nice. Sally?
Yeah, and I was going to say I'm going to start implementing some little goals. So just, you know, have some little rewards for and schedule in some stress relief times, you know. I've already think you're really good on it Saturday night. Woo-hoo!
So to wrap it all up and wrap up with you, Sally, I think you're talking about sex, baths, wine, which all sound very, very good. So, and laughter, like that's the main.
Exactly.
With laughter, calling a friend, having, you know, people like this to talk to and just have a really good laugh with. Okay, we'll see you guys next week. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel so that we can reach more people, and leave us a comment if you would like. Okay, we'll see you soon. Bye.
Okay, see you later. Bye.